Nerd reactor, roll out.
What's up, reactorites? John here, and it's time to talk about The Batman. This is the highly anticipated movie from director Matt Reeves with Robert Pattinson as the Batman. And you have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. You have Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. You have Paul Dano as the Riddler and Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And this movie is about Batman, 2 years, fighting crime in Gotham. Very grounded, very gritty, and very much focused on the detective portion of the Batman. And so with my thoughts on this one, Matt Reeves, he's made a detective thriller, and it's really cool how it's inspired by certain serial killer movies like Zodiac, or even serial killers, the Zodiac Killer, and also other creepy stuff. Like, it reminds me of Saw, with the Jigsaw, especially with how the Riddler does things, and the fight scenes. We get to see really brutal fight scenes, and they're very intense. And also the city of Gotham just feels very grounded and dangerous. But with the 3-hour runtime, it can feel a bit long during some scenes. And overall, like, this game of cat and mouse with the Riddler and Batman, sometimes it feels a little bit imbalanced, because sometimes it feels like one side is way ahead. But yeah, overall, I still enjoyed the movie. It's a little bit long. I wish it was a bit shorter, or just try to balance some of the action sequences and also the detective portion, because sometimes the detective portions can be a huge chunk, but not the interesting kind of detective part. But yeah, let's get on with the story. So yeah, the story, we have the Riddler. It's got an interesting, different mask. And we have the Batman trying to figure out what's happening. Why are there these dead people and these puzzles? What does that have to do with the Batman? And because some of the stuff, it's like the Riddler is calling out to Batman. And what is this all about? And we have Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. He's joining in. He's helping out. And we also have the other parts of the Rogues Gallery. For example, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. These characters, they're set in this world. So it's for sure leading up to a sequel. We can see more of them if the movie is a success. And let's talk about Robert Pattinson as the Batman. What did I think of him? I did like what he was able to do with the material he was given. And we have this Robert Panson in the Batsuit. Really cool looking. The Batsuit is awesome. Probably one of my favorites, just because it looks so sleek, but also high tech. And I love the logo where it's like the Batarang, and you can really take it out and use it and throw it. And Robert Pattinson just looks cool inside the cowl. And as for the performance, if you've seen the trailer, very silent, very just sad and intense, and just staring. Especially the church scene, you see that he's just staring. And also as Batman, if you type in the Batman animated GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, you'll notice a trend of Batman just staring. There's one where he's just staring straight, staring up, and a lot of different types of staring. And so with this, I felt like with the movie, with the long 3-hour long runtime, I felt like there were a lot of scenes of Robert Pattinson just staring. And if you enjoy this version of Batman staring, that's cool for you. But for me, it was just a little too much, and I wish there was just a little bit more dialogue from him, and a little bit more of the balance of just showing more emotions. Like, it just felt like this version of the Batman in this movie just felt a little too much of him just staring, being sad, being very upset. But yeah, some might like this version of Batman because, Batman, people know Batman as this person that's very serious, showing no emotions, because you got to have a poker face. But yeah, there are moments where there's a lot of rage with it. So it's just rage. Like, especially the part where he's in the trailer, you see he's punching the glass where the Riddler is at. So there's a lot of rage here, a little bit over here. But then most of the time it's just him staring, and I just wish that he had more stuff to do. And then we also have the Riddler, Paul Dano as the Riddler, very mysterious. And I think for this version of the Riddler, pretty different just in terms of the personality, or you might even think it might be a little similar with how he could be a pushover, but this Riddler likes to send puzzles and very deadly, especially with the people, the victims, and how they would die. So it very much reminds me of the Saw films with these traps and trying to figure it out before bad things happen. Paul, I think, did a really cool job of just making this character just come to life with the creepiness behind it, and just the voice. So I just feel a little unease when I watch him. And so, a very creepy take on the Riddler. And then we have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Definitely one of my favorite performances in the movie. And in this version, she has this story where she's working in the criminal world, and somehow she's going to team up with Batman. And so what is her game plan? So the movie does reveal like her background and her goals and what does she really want to do here. And I think like Zoe Kravitz does a wonderful job as Catwoman, and really enjoyable with her and the dynamic between her and the Batman. And next up we have Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, and I really like this version of Gordon because he has a very big role in terms of helping out Batman, because in previous iterations in the films you would have Gordon, he does help out Batman, but Batman helps him out, especially with the Bat-Signal fighting crime, but here like he really helps out Batman. So he's going out there, it's like a buddy cop film. And you got the Batman, you have Gordon actually going to places, investigating places together, going on an adventure together on a journey, instead of like meeting up on the rooftop of where the bat signal's at. So they actually get to do a lot of things together. So his role has been expanded as like a fellow partner in crime or fighting crime. And I think my favorite performance in this movie is Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And as the Penguin, he's just fun to watch. He's like this criminal that just wants more, like a bigger piece of the pie. And you get to see here, like they don't show too much like of his story, because I believe they're going to set up more in the sequel, but you kind of get to see where he's at in life and what he wants to do. And just his characters, very interesting with Colin Farrell portraying this character. Like sometimes you can't even recognize it's him, especially with the makeup, but also the performance. But yeah, definitely for sure my favorite character performance in the film, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. And I think another big plus that I liked about this movie is how they introduced the Batmobile. Like the Batmobile here, it's pretty cool, especially with the way you see it being shown in the film for the first time. I don't want to say too much about it, but it's pretty loud and pretty aggressive. And when you see it, like when I saw it for the first time, I got goosebumps. I was like, oh, damn, this is going to be nuts. And so a big part of this movie is the detective portion. And the detective portion I thought would have been like great, because I love the detective parts of certain things. Like on paper, it sounds really cool. Like it could have been done better, like with cooler puzzles or something more intricate that would make Batman feel very super smart. But sometimes it just feels like, oh, Batman just knows this puzzle because of this. But it's just kind of like a kid trying to solve a nursery rhyme. So with this one, I just want to see other types of detective work and more interesting parts, more exhilarating parts, like, oh, what's going to happen here, or what's going to happen here. And also like the part where he's trying to figure out what the Riddler has in store for him. So like when I mentioned the cat and mouse, and usually an interesting movie, you have the game of cat and mouse where it keeps going like this, like that. But for this movie, sometimes it just keeps going, and like the other can't catch up. And it's like, oh man, this is way out there, and it just feels like not fair. And I do want to talk about the action portion. I feel like there aren't a lot of action sequences. Like you get some stuff here and there, and the best parts of the action was in the first act. The third act it was okay, but the first was like, ooh, this is cool, especially with the introduction. It's like this is what it's all about, seeing this very aggressive Batman just taking down criminals, and he is pissed off. And another thing I like about the action sequences is when Batman fights, very cool, but sometimes it's just very raw. So he gets hurt a lot, he gets hit a lot, and you'll see parts where he'll make some mistakes, and I kind of like that. It's kind of like if you watch Daredevil, on Netflix, the way he fights. Like, I love that just grounded fight where it also shows that he's human because he's getting tired. So I think out of all the Batmans we've seen on screen, this is probably the most like flawed Batman in terms of fighting, because he'll get hit and he'll make mistakes and he'll get tired. And I just really like this raw version. But yeah, with this film, with the Batman, with Matt Reeves directing this, you can see a lot of influences from different things, from like comic books and from serial killers, and certain parts, it's just you're watching this journey, so you really get to see this Batman just investigating, but also still kicking ass here and there. And I think with the 3-hour runtime, I feel like it's a bit too long. And sometimes I like slow burn movies. Like, this is a slow burn movie, but you can use it as a positive thing or a negative thing. And with this one, I think the slow burn was just a little too much of a slow burn where nothing much is happening. It's just Batman, just doing a detective portion, but it just keeps going a bit longer. Oh, and I forgot to mention about Andy Serkis as Alfred, and I just feel like this is a lot of like a huge wasted potential with what they've done to the story in this movie, because there was an emotional scene which I felt didn't really connect because we didn't really have enough time with Andy Serkis as Alfred, and I wish there was a bit more, and just some more like relationships or scenes that we can see in the film, so that these emotional scenes, I can connect to it more. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. I did like the bat suit, the Batmobile. I do like just the buddy cop aspect with Jeffrey Wright as Gordon helping out with the Batman. I like Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. She's wonderful. Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Best thing in this movie. But yeah, just the parts where I'm just like, was like the 3-hour long runtime, which felt long. And it really depends on the movies too, because I love the Lord of the Rings extended edition. Those are like long movies, and I enjoyed the hell out of them. But for this one, like certain segments just is stretched out. And so I feel like they probably could have shrunk this movie, the running time, or maybe introduce something else, or just give Robert Pattinson a little bit more for his performances, because right now it just feels more like it's focused on the Riddler or Catwoman and some other characters, and Robert Pattinson is kind of like a side character of his own film, even though he has a lot of screen time. He has a lot of screen time in this movie, but it just felt like the other characters were more compelling than the Batman. But that's usually how it is with these rogues galleries and also just these other characters. But yeah, those are my thoughts for the Batman. Let me know what your thoughts are on the comments below once this movie comes out. With that said, if you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe. With that said, I'm John, and I'll see you guys next time.